everybody, my name is Mathas and welcome to the very last video for the very first Star Wars month here on the Judge Mathas channel. I knew going into this was going to be near impossible. I had played so many Star Wars games, and Star Wars as a franchise means so much to me that only picking 2 games to cover on the channel for the first Star Wars month was gonna be hard. So I set a couple ground rules. First, pick a game that I had not played before, play it, and review it. And that was Star Wars Rebellion. And second, pick a game I remember loving and see if it still holds up as well as I remember it. And of course, I could have picked the Jedi Outcast and Kyle Katarn saga or KOTOR, which everybody loves, but I picked a game that I remember adoring when it came out, but not really remember playing it more than once. And that was Star Wars Republic Commando, a game that I picked up in 2005, played through in an entire night sitting, and then put down forever, which was weird. I don't remember playing through it a second or third time, but I remember loving the game from start to finish. So I figured we had to cover Republic Commando. Did the game hold up as well as I remember it holding up? And that's what we're gonna find out. So let's check out Republic Commando. I know it's beating a dead horse saying, her, prequels are garbage, burp, 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 burp. But they were. They were really bad. But I, ever the optimist, like to look at the good that came from such negativity. And 2 things jump to mind. First, I finally had material I could use to write my homoerotic fanfiction of Obi-Wan and Anakin. When 2 lightsabers clash, all that's kept in the dark will be brought to light, and brothers in arms will be brothers in one another's. And second, we saw a resurgence of new Star Wars video games. And while there were some truly god-awful abominations of video games released during this time,
Darth Vader versus 4. You win.
All too easy.
we also had an incredible amount of great ones. And while a lot of games explored what it would be like to be a Jedi or save the galaxy with the heroes in the movies, all of which are amazing games in their own right that I'd love to explore one day, there were a few that expanded the Star Wars universe in a different way, telling the untold stories of heroes all around the galaxy, much like Rogue One aims to do now. And Republic Commando was one of those games. The story of an elite squadron of clone troopers sent to do top secret missions to aid the Republic without help or backup of any kind. They were Delta Squadron. Now, let's see if my memory of this game holds up. The game boots up and we're a little baby. Oh, a little science baby being grown in a lab. But a cute little baby nonetheless. Our alien mom is standing outside our tank and she gives us our name.
Your designation will be RP01/138.
Alright, a little unorthodox, but hey, unique sounding names are cool nowadays. No one wants to be named Steve anymore. Stupid Steve and his dumb, boring, stupid name. Alien mom then tells us they expect great things from us before we fade to white. Now listen here. Isn't it a little early to put that kind of pressure onto someone? What do you define as great? I mean, I know it's called Republic Commando and all that, but what if I want to be an artist? Or a musician? Or maybe an author? Have I told you about my awesome fanfiction yet, Mom? Can't you just love me no matter what I do with my life? Why do I have to do what you want, huh? Huh, Mom? Huh? The next few minutes is a montage of scenes showing our training as we learn to shoot, study about stuff, then are told that we are bred to be superior to our more common brethren. Genetic superiority at its finest. Something I'm sure would bring a tear to old Hitler's eye. And after the montage, we're quickly introduced to the rest of Delta Squadron, who will be leading on these covert missions. And these guys, well, these guys are just awesome. But more on them a little later, because just after that, we're thrown into the game and the story. Since this game takes place between episodes 2 and 3, we'll be seeing a lot of familiar places if you've seen those movies, opening first and foremost with Geonosis. And this opening is great. Our first mission is a simple one. Link up with the other members of Delta Squadron on the ground and find Sun Fak and eliminate him. Wasn't sure if I said it right, I hope I did. As we're getting briefed, the carnage of war is happening right outside the ship. Explosions, ground combat, ships being shot out of the sky. It's all extremely chaotic and overwhelming, setting the tone for what was to come. And just as we land, our token red shirt gets scooped up by a Geonosis and flown off, never to be heard from again. Rest in peace, little buddy. Thanks for telling me that we landed safely. Also, did he tell me to look out? Bruh, I think you're confused. You're the one who got kidnapped. And from here on, it's all action, baby. You're dropped right into the middle of a war zone, and it feels like it. Enemies are swarming, friendlies die as you run by them, and you take out countless droid separatist machines as you are looking for your own squadron. And as you move from one point to the next, the game uses this as an opportunity to teach you everything you need to know. But if you've played any shooter in your life, well, you kind of know what you're in for. There are no surprises when it comes to the gameplay. We'll talk details on the controls in a bit, but I want to get back to the point that I was talking about before, and the part of the game I have the most fond memories of, and that's the rest of Delta Squadron. You'll come across each individual member of Delta Squadron on their own as you're introduced to each one, usually as they're in the middle of doing something badass on their own. These guys, right here, are the defining feature of this game. The one thing I remember above everything else: Fixer, Sev, and Scorch. While the combat of the game is serviceable and generally controls well, what elevates the game to something special is the personalities of your squad mates.
Something nailed the leader. Can I be in charge now?
This could easily have been just another shooter with a Star Wars skin slapped over top of it. But instead, the developers and writers took some care with the characters. Throughout the game, your squad mates will be chattering with one another, making jokes, giving tactical advice, and being otherwise relatively observant of their surroundings. They'll take cover on their own, and unlike other NPC companions in other games, they shoot and kill things alongside you. Moreover, if you go down, and you will in this game, they will come and resurrect your ass off the ground. Over time, you come to learn each of your squad mates and their personalities as they continue to chat and quip with one another. Fixer is the straight man, always looking to get the job done quickly and reining in his other two brothers if they get out of hand. Sev was the quiet killer. He didn't say much, but when he did, he always came across as smarmy. When he shot to kill. And Scorch, well, Scorch liked explosives. He really liked explosives.
Good. I'm dying to blow something up.
And the fact that I can walk away from this game feeling like I grew to know them is a testament to the writing. And the writing would otherwise be pointless if the voice acting behind the characters was awful, but the voice work in this entire game is superb. It rides the lines of serious, whimsical, and funny all at once, but is decidedly Star Wars, which I find a feat in itself. Couple the great voice work with the overall excellent audio and you have yourself a really great Star Wars experience. The lasers sound just like they do in the movies, and the soundtrack, oh lord, the soundtrack. During some of the most repetitive moments in the game, I still found myself getting goosebumps because the music in this game is good. It's so good. And when you're in the midst of it all, with the iconic Star Wars music at full throttle, giving commands to your squad mates to take cover and focus fire, throwing thermal detonators and firing the blaster rifle of your own, it's a full-on Star Wars immersion experience. And immersion is exactly the word I'd use to describe this game at its highest highs. Your HUD is perfectly integrated into the design of the game. All necessary information is displayed as though it were being displayed to you as a clone trooper that you're supposed to be, through information displayed on your helmet. If you take out an enemy up close, blood or oil might spatter on your helmet and be wiped clean automatically by the helmet itself. Everything about this game does its best to put you in the shoes of the leader of Delta Squadron. And when everything is working in tandem, it's an awesome, adrenaline-filled Star Wars experience. But what I'm talking about here are moments. Moments when everything comes together to make you feel like an awesome clone trooper. Moments where the repetitive nature of the game is buried beneath a blissful soundtrack and great voice work. Moments where the blaster fire and excellent chatter of your teammates have you smiling and giggling like the preteen I was when the prequel trilogy originally came out. But these moments are exactly that, and they don't all last very long. I'm not about to suddenly shift gears and shit all over the game. As I said earlier, its mechanics are fine, responsive, and fun. There's nothing wrong with how it plays. However, the game is far from perfect, and its biggest problem lies in its repetition. The game boils down to a very simple formula when you look at it. Enter level, go room to room, murder enemies, get to objective, hack, blow up, or kill objective, and then move on to the next level. It, in essence, is a corridor shooter with all of its pros and its cons. Sure, it gets spiced up in the ability to command your allies to take cover and tell them to focus down certain enemies, but after the first couple of hours, that gets old rather fast. You'll quickly learn which enemies to focus down first, take them out, and then take out the rest of the trash surrounding them. You'll see a lot of the same types of enemies throughout the game as well, and environments aren't safe from the repetition either, with similar looking hallways and corridors all popping up now and again. And the game does very little to keep things fresh. I mean, they do try their best by maintaining decent weapon variety throughout the game, with your rifle being modular and able to turn from rifle to sniper to grenade launcher, all with cool animations to go with it. And the levels themselves will occasionally drop unique temporary and very powerful weapons to use, keeping things fresh in their own way. But it just wasn't enough to stop the looming threat of boredom from arriving. I wasn't able to play the game for too long a stint before wanting to put it down and step away, no matter how good the voice acting and music was. And all of this would have been fine if the shooting itself had been something spectacular. But that too fell into an unfortunate slump of mediocre. I know I said the mechanics and controls for the shooting felt fine, and they do, but what kills the enjoyment is the enemies. Usually you'll head into a room and an onslaught of enemies will approach that you're meant to blast through before moving on. But in that mix of enemies, there's usually a couple of them that have a health bar associated with them. An actual health bar. And these guys are tough as nails sometimes. You'll enter entire clips into the bastards and they'll still be standing, firing away at you, knocking you on your sorry ass. Blaster bolt after blaster bolt hits them, and they don't seem to give a single flying shit about any single one of them. Level their sights at you, and then they'll just fire away until you're dead, or your companions are dead before finishing you off. The temptation then is to switch to a more powerful weapon, like the grenade launcher, to blow them out of the sky. And I'd agree with you, except you're wrong. Why, you ask? Because of ammo. The game limits the type of ammo it wants to give you drastically, usually not giving you much of anything other than just the basic rifle ammo. So if you wanted to switch over, by all means, go for it. One grenade isn't enough to kill these fuckers either. You'll need 2 or 3 to finish them off, and ammo is very limited for the more powerful gun modes. So God forbid you come to the end of the level without grenade shots left, and there ends up being a boss, and well, fuck it. All you got is your rifle and some hand grenades. Don't miss, bucko. There were plenty of times in my playthrough where I had to do the same bit of the level 3 or 4 times before I got through because I was out of the most powerful ammo I needed and had just my blaster rifle left, and was forced to take out a big wave of tough enemies because the game wanted to fuck me over really badly. The game heavily relied in its difficulty swing by drastically draining the ammunition it provided for you. I was always able to get through eventually, but it was never fun or easy when it came down to that. And don't think your infinite ammo pistol will help. That thing hits like a toy gun. But hey, maybe it's because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but in the end, I still really enjoyed playing this game. It may not reach the height of awesomeness that I remember it being back in 2005, but despite its repetitive nature, the game still holds up well, in no small part due to its awesome cast of characters, voice acting, and writing. And while the story was mostly forgettable, the ending was left with such a huge cliffhanger that was incredibly character-driven that was never resolved because the game never saw a sequel. But maybe now that we have some new Star Wars excitement emerging, who knows? Maybe we'll see Delta Squadron return in some way, shape, or form. I know I'll certainly miss hanging out with this fun cast of characters. It was a blast from beginning to end.
See you planetside, sir.
So while the gameplay of Republic Commando may not hold up as well as I remember it holding up, I'm really glad the characters, the voice acting, and the script are still superb even today. A part of me was really concerned that my Star Wars nostalgia glasses were making this game out to be much better than it truly is. Now, if you're not a Star Wars fan, the game is probably mediocre at best. But if you're a Star Wars nut like me, and even if you hate the prequel trilogies like I do, Republic Commando still is a great game to play. There was a lot of love put into this game from the developers, and it shows from start to finish. And though it may get repetitive, it still was a blast to finish off a second time, and I do not regret playing it again. It has not tarnished the memory that I have of it from the past. And that's why I, the Honorable Jedi Mathas, judge this game as innocent. While there are some questionable design decisions, especially with enemies having really big health bars and certain ammo being really limited, making certain aspects of the game more difficult than they really need to be, and of course the game getting a little repetitive, the love, care, and attention to detail in the characters, the world, the voice acting really elevate this game above mediocrity, which for me is great, because I was really expecting this game to not hold up to this memory that I have of it being an amazing game. And it may not be amazing, but it's still pretty damn good. So my final question for Star Wars month for you guys is, who's your favorite Star Wars video game character? Delta Squadron is full of really awesome characters, all of which are unique, funny, quirky, and awesome. But I want to know who your favorite video game Star Wars character is. No movies, no cheating, just characters that show up in video games. I'm very excited to see what your answers are going to be in the comment section below. And that's it. The first Star Wars month here on Judge Mathas is done. That's really exciting for me. I have big plans for next year. Hopefully a video a week for just Star Wars month instead of every 2 weeks, but who knows? We'll see where we are next year. That's quite a ways away. Thank you guys for the support. I just love being able to play Star Wars games and talk about them. One of my favorite genres or topics, I guess, for video games in general. It's just one of my favorite things to do. So thank you guys for watching. I'm excited to bring you another episode in a couple of weeks, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed Star Wars month on the channel. If you're looking for more Star Wars goodness, make sure you check out my last Judge Mathas. And if you want to, hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the little bell so you get notified when my videos go live, because YouTube says so.